Chris Edwards. He's our information security officer. And we're going to be talking about, are you security minded and how to protect yourself? So we know that threats are out there. They're running rampant and they're looking to cause us harm. So Chris is going to provide today some tips on cybersecurity, malware, how to recognize scams, and we'll share some strategies with us so we can beat the bad guys. So I'm going to ask if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but hold them till the end and we will get to them at the very end. So with that, I would like to introduce Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Yep, thank you, Andrea. Chris Edwards, Information Security Officer at First Financial. I've worked in multiple industries or sectors, and the one common thing that we have always, kind of honed in on was information security, and we tackle that in different ways. One was in higher education. It was like, all right, let's look at the compliance aspect, the regulations, make sure that we're adhering to those. I worked at a nuclear plant where it was more physical security, and that's how we protected information and data. The one thing that was common among all these was actually training, training our staff, our individuals, and, we would call that securing the human, because we see it through, even through the ARC or even through First Financial. It doesn't matter if you have 10 employees or 1,000, each one of them have their own personality, their own educational habits, their own learning capabilities. And we need to just work with them to really hone in these skills and understand what's at stake when dealing with sensitive information and data. So ready to begin when you are, Andrea.
There we go.
Now we just go to the next slide. We already went through there. Okay, so one thing, through my educations, I don't know if you call it that, I do have a master's in cybersecurity from UMUC. When I first started going to school, I didn't even know what cybersecurity was, so I want to introduce that to this group. However, even during my education, cybersecurity was spelled 7 different ways. So it was just, there's really no common ground except for the definition of this, which is the state of being protected against the criminal or unauthorized use of electronic data or the measures taken to achieve this. Then it goes in to talk about internet-connected devices and systems. So if you heard of Internet of Things, that is anything that's connected to the internet. And that could be from your car to your refrigerator. Everything is connected, garage doors. And that's just an entry, a gateway into your network or your home environment, or even, into professional settings. So what we need to do is secure that. And there's 3 ways that we go about this. There's 3 pillars of what we call the CIA triad, and that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality limits sensitive information and data from unauthorized access attempts. So invalid passwords, that's one control that we have in place. Integrity is making sure that the information is trustworthy and correct. It's appropriate. It's not tainted and hasn't been compromised. And then the availability is guaranteeing the reliable access of that information to authorized individuals. Next slide. So we're getting into talk types of malware. Malware or malicious software is any program or file designed to cause damage to a computer, server, or network. It can perform multiple types of activities such as stealing, encrypting, deleting, and altering sensitive information. So there's different types of malware: the virus, worm, Trojan, also known as Trojan horse, spyware, and adware. And if you've ever been on the internet on your phone or your smart device, and just say you're looking up a vacuum cleaner, well then if you go onto Facebook, you're going to start seeing ads for vacuum cleaners. There's just logic built in between these applications and the internet to kind of link these together to get you to browse in your download history to advertise to you. Now, adware isn't exactly we'll say malicious. However, it is there as a marketing or advertising scheme to make a purchase. And some of these stores might not be the most trustworthy of stores. However, most of the time, adware is not as malicious as the others. Next slide. Ransomware, that's been a big thing for the last couple of years, and that is a type of malware. And it differs in its concept of the previous malware discussed. Ransomware's goal and life cycle is to encrypt and lock the victim's system's data, gain access to information, demand the victim to pay a ransom. That's probably been the spark of the cryptocurrency market, and that's in exchange for the actual criminals to decrypt, restore, and release the data back. There's three types of common ransomwares, which is crypto, which is really holding your files hostage by encrypting them. Locker prevents your device from accessing information, data, or just the device itself. And scareware is designed to make it look like just a antivirus that is prompted that you need to contact someone to some kind of support to do that. However, the support would be just a criminal taking your money, and there's no actual issue with your device. Next slide. The anatomy of ransomware attacks. So we hear about ransomware, but maybe we don't know actually how it works. And there's quite a workflow that is built out on this. So to start, it's a campaign. Usually it's done through a phishing email. And these are done through, it could be just some kid bored at home to an actual ransomware or crypto gang that is there to, kind of honing in their skills, and then they're deploying across multiple campuses or environments. They're just shooting out of a barrel. They're not exactly aiming at you unless it's really intended, but they're putting out as many marketing or flyers that they would do for ransomware. Stage 2 is infection. Your malware has been downloaded. You either clicked on an attachment, clicked on a link, or it could just be an insider threat that's happened to deploy this themselves. However, it's downloaded onto the device, code execution begins. At this point, no files have been encrypted. It's really just scamming the environment and letting the servers know, which I'll talk about in stage 3, that the ransomware is ready to be deployed. And stage 3 is the staging. So malicious code has been changed. It's changed the system configurations. It's gone undetected. It's begun communicating with the attackers. And we call this the C2 servers. Command and control was kind of the brains of the operation. The C2 server will send the system the encryption key to start deploying the encryption. And stage 4 is scanning. The malware is scanning the system for shells. It's really getting to understand what your environment looks like with your files, your folders, file shares, any devices connected. And the malware is taking inventory on what data is available and the level of access and permissions that this user or this device has to that. Next slide. Stage 5 is the encryption. Encryption begins when all data has been inventoried. This process can take seconds, minutes, hours, depending on how big your environment is, how many systems, applications, devices are part of that. Network files are copied locally to the device and then encrypted locally on that device as well. So then these encrypted files are then uploaded to the network, and then the original files are deleted. So you can't even, unless you have backups, be able to access those files previously. And stage 6 is actually the payday. It's all data is encrypted. You are now aware that you have ransomware. Attacker is requesting payment through cryptocurrency, and now the organization is in recovery mode. Instant response plan has been deployed, and now all parties are, are tackling it, investigating, researching this. So here's what a potential ransomware email may look like. This one says it's from Amazon. However, if you do look at the from address, you'll see that they spelled Amazon using 2 N's. That's to make it look like people that are in a rush or just kind of scrolling through emails, they might see those 2 N's back to back that looks like an M. And then you can see it's .net instead of .com. And then really the subject line of that urgent language, that urgency to, act now. So you can see that's in the subject line. The dear customer, it doesn't specify to who. It's kind of just, just broad term. And then we have some misspellings within here. You have your link will expire in 24 hours. So that's another action term there. And then if you were to hover over this link at the bottom, that would redirect you to somewhere else that is not Amazon. So these are things we have to look for. A, did you have an order that needed to be canceled? What was the order? It's just things that make you act without thinking. So we really do need to take our time and even go to the source. Go into your Amazon account to look for this. We're all just subject to the spam or phishing emails that are trying to get us to click on something or take an action. Next slide. So it just say we did click on that link from that previous, from that email. This would be what is presented to us once we start having the ransomware deploy, encrypt, and now we're aware. This is from WannaCry. It's one of the bigger ransomware campaigns that were done. And it's asking you to buy crypto to make the payment. And these crypto gangs are smart now. Now, if you don't know how to buy crypto, you can literally contact them. They have a help desk. They have someone that will prompt you through the process of buying cryptocurrency. It's really a business that they are running. It's not the best business, but it is a profitable one, and B, it's not going away anytime soon. Just the anonymity of this it's amazing that you can act in shadows. Next slide. All right, so you're a victim of ransomware. What do you do? Number one, disconnect from your network, your internet, turn off your device. Absolutely contact your security team. If you're in the professional setting, at home, you may need to contact your internet provider, whether that's Comcast, Verizon, whoever, just to see if there's anything they can do on their end. And they might just say, yep, let's do a factory reset on your phone and be done with it. If you are in the professional setting, take all your network shares offline, download or copy to a safe environment if possible. Determine if network shares have been encrypted. Are they still accessible? Be forthcoming to your IT team. Omitting any information will only make matters worse. Look for available master copies of the decryption key. However, you got to be careful because they know that you may go online to find decryption keys. They are out there, but these could also be malicious, or they could be the wrong key. They could be outdated. So even if when we're in that investigation and response territory, we still have to be mindful. We can't act on emotions. We have to take our time. We still have to think and follow whatever protocols have been put in place by your organization. Next slide. Should a ransom be paid? So this has been an ongoing conversation between security experts, business owners, and insurance companies. And it's really cybersecurity experts and law enforcement officials urge organizations that fall victim to ransomware not pay. It seems like sometimes it's easier to pay. However, that is also just kind of rewarding the criminals for doing their part. So we got to ask yourself, what data do the attackers have and what is that value? What was on that folder on that network share? Was it public information? Was it sensitive information, proprietary? We have to know what's at stake, and do we really even need it back because everything else is protected or safeguarded? There's no guarantees that your data will be properly unencrypted or released back to you. You could be paying for something and getting nothing in return. May not receive a working decryption tool or wrong key is provided. And we can get into this a little bit later, but this is now ransomware as a service, and people are leveraging other ransomware gangs or other tools, and they're just deploying it without having the other half of this of decrypting what has been encrypted. So we need to be mindful of that. All encrypted files may be unencrypted, or the encryption process could get interrupted. So what happens when if that were to happen? Do you have to repay? Was it a one-time deal? And that's the interactions that you would have with the criminal gangs, the cyber criminal gangs, or the FBI, or your cyber insurance agents, is to see what happens if this fails. Attackers are using ransomware that they don't even own or don't have the key to, and that's kind of the ransomware as a service that we can talk about on the back end here. Next slide. Will the attackers really be out of your system or network? And that's something that scares me, is even if we do decrypt the files, how do we know they are actually out of our network? What all were they able to do? Do I have enough auditing files or log files to see them in our systems and out of our systems? Or were they able to create new users, new accounts to stay within our system and go, untraceable? Victims should assume that the data will be traded, sold, or misplaced. This usually happens on the dark web, and that's something that they do. They are leveraging each other. So it's, yep, we got their data, we got paid. Now your turn to use the data. So some ransomware gangs or another gang may attack you again, demanding a higher ransom, because once you're hit, you're likely to be a target again. There's the ethical dilemma if paying ransom validates the attacker's operations or you're funding terrorism. And one of the definitions of terrorism is disrupting your daily life, right? So when we had the Colonial Pipeline go down, that really impacted the eastern, part of the U.S. and had people trying to get gas maybe when they didn't need it, putting it in plastic bags or other containers, and just getting them to think that the supply is going to end. And we'll get into the supply chain a little bit as well, but it's just really disrupting our daily lives. So whether it's through supply chain or really just not being able to access this file, this device, your phone, that's part of them winning. Can you get Bitcoin currency fast enough? Do you know how? Do you have enough time to get that? Do you have things in place to buy Bitcoin or any currency that they will accept? And is a master key available? Because older forms of ransomware that may be still leveraged have master keys that are available online. Next slide. Here's some 2021 statistics. And you can see here that it has the average ransom payment, the median ransom payment. So the light blue line shows that it does pay off, or there is a savings if you don't pay right away. However, what does it cost you on the back end of, whether it's your business continuity, disaster recovery, you could have fines and penalties. What's the offset here? Your customers or members' experience, your reputation. There's a lot of things that go into stake here. Of if you don't pay, well, what's the result of that? If you pay, is it too much up front, or should I wait it out? Because they will work with you, as their business model. So in 2019 to 2021, there was a ransomware every 14 seconds. Not all of them are really publicized, but in 22, they are expecting to be every 11 seconds. So we do have to keep an eye out for that. And there has already been, even though we're halfway through the year, multiple instances of known or bigger companies that have experienced ransomware. Next slide. So here we have the numbers that have changed a little bit through 2020 to 2021. And in 2020, the highest ransom demand was 30 million. Now we're seeing upwards of 240 million. And that number is just going to keep growing. It's just, they know that they have a number, and anything cheaper than that number is still a win for them. The average ransom, 247,000. Downtime, 22 days. So think of that. If you're unable to access your environment, your device, your customers, your members for 22 days, what's that going to do to your organization, your reputation? And then usually there's 9 days of just investigating, research, and just really decision making. And then we see the top ransomware gangs: Lockbit, Conti, and Pisa. So these are the top 3. However, there's dozens. There's maybe just say 100 of these criminal gangs out there. And what's happening now is they're all becoming like NFL teams. So each one is their own team with their own players. But sometimes these players leave and they go to a new team with other new players, and they become all-stars, right? And so they're really just starting to disband, but build these bigger, badder criminal gangs that are, really using their best resources and just pitting it up against each other and joining forces. So even the lower grade criminal gangs that might not be known may have the best players. So that's why we always have to be on our heels, and we're going to see ransomware keep spiking and spiking, because these lesser known gangs are going to have some of these top tier players as part of their team. Next slide. All right, so recent changes to ransomware: double extortion, right? This is a pay or get breach, right? If you don't pay us, we already have your data. We're then going to put it on the dark web, and we're going to put it out there for everyone to know, or we might put it on a public, interface, so that people can see what we have, what we did, and that they were a victim of this. So and as I mentioned, we might see this trend grow because of these lesser known ransomware gangs trying to make a name for themselves, or they have the better tools and resources to complete this action. Next slide. I mentioned ransomware as a service. So this is a subscription-based model, which gives even, we call them script kiddies, novice, cyber criminal, the platform and tools to launch their own ransomware attacks. You can do this at, in your own, the comfort of your own home. And there was a lot of this that happened during the pandemic because people were home, weren't working, they were bored. And this was a way to get income or to, just test the waters. So these ransomware as a service packages are commonly used by cyber criminals who don't have much technical knowledge of how to create or code ransomware. And if you do, become encrypted by their ransomware, this is who you're also dealing with. So they don't even have the expertise to help you through their own process. All they did was deliver the ransomware. Next slide. Supply chain attacks. So this is the big thing, and we're starting to see it, maybe in the food industry with, there was a couple, I think there was a meat plant that was impacted. And then we're just seeing it, across the whole landscape of just what can happen with the supply chain. So with these supply chains, they're like, why do I want to go after 100 little guys when I can go after one big guy and get all their customers, all their members, all their data, all their information? They're able to like inject code into their patch, their updates. We saw this with SolarWinds, and now they're able to impact everyone below them. It's just this slippery slope of the supply chain. Next slide. Now they're allowing time to save the victim's reputation. So not only are they criminals, they're friendly, right? They want to protect your brand. So the initial phase of victim extortion are becoming less open to the public as the criminals tend to use, the anonymity of this. So they're not going to disclose or let people know that they have a ransomware ready to deploy, or they already have deployed it, of who the victim is, or their operatives, or other targets. So they're kind of playing in the shadows, saying, we got you. You can make a payment, or we can make some noise and you're still going to make a payment, or however it plays out. But they're giving them a chance to save that reputation, that branding, because that is hard to overcome. Next slide. All right, so now we're getting to common attacks, and this is used by cyber criminals. It doesn't have to be ransomware. This is just anyone trying to trick you or leverage you to give you, whether it's your organization's information and data, your own information and data, but they use influence and persuasion to deceive people by convincing them through impersonation or manipulation, and try to get the victim to act without thinking. So that's when they're using that urgent language, or they're trying to influence the person by their authority or even through observation. So we have phishing, which is suspicious and deceptive emails. They could contain attachments or links. Smishing is really just phishing via your text messaging. Pretexting, that's when someone's calling you acting like they're IT support, or they're acting like your supervisor, manager, or consultant working on behalf of someone, trying to get you to do something out of fear or that urgency. Baiting is when you give something to get something. So these free downloads for providing information. If you complete a survey, I see people doing these quizzes on Facebook all the time, and all you're doing is just giving your information for free to them. The questions they're asking are them trying to figure out your password, right? Like, what's your dog's name? What school did you go to? What year did you graduate? ... What's your mother's maiden name? And, these are the challenge questions that you'll see when you're trying to reset a password or trying to establish a password. So you're giving them all the tools for free to guess at your password, your credentials. Shoulder surfing is still a thing. People will look over your shoulder, whether it's Starbucks, in the office. I try to have my back to the wall so I can see who's in front of me, because even if it's a cleaner, if it's a janitor, if it's somebody, a new person, I'm always wearing my information security hat, and I can't chance it, because I'm the last person I want to ever fail a social engineering exercise. Tailgating, that still happens now, whether it's a UPS man or woman holding boxes, asking you to hold the door for them. Like, that's still a thing. Or they can have a fake badge, just trying to walk through behind you, or they're acting like they're carrying coffee. So that's just providing physical access to someone who does not have the proper authorization or badging or credentials. And then there's the actual physical theft of your device or smartphone. And I can't emphasize it enough. Always lock your device, whether it's your laptop or your cell phone, a tablet. Because as you've seen in some of these other situations, even the FBI cannot unlock your device. But if you give somebody your device and it's unlocked, you might as well just be handing over anything sensitive to you. I always say I'd rather lose my wallet than my phone at this point. It's easier to recover a license than it is anything that's with my phone. Next slide. So what do criminals do with our stolen information? You can see here there's some prices associated with this, and these are back in 2020. The prices are probably higher now, but they exploit the information for profit. They're applying for loans or credit cards, filing fraudulent tax returns. So it's always smart to file as early as you can once tax season starts. They're going to attempt to gain access to online accounts. They're going to target phishing or vishing attacks using your contacts, especially if it's through email. But if they have your phone and that has just contact list or just an email list within there, they're going to target them as well and impersonate you to do that. They're going to sell the information on the dark web. And with that, usually that involves, for $4, you can get a social security number, you get a full name, a driver's license number, passport number, email address for $4. Like, that's incredible. That just shows that they really don't even care about your information. They just want to resell it to someone else who's going to use it, but they're just getting that initial fee, that initial hit from there. And you can see on here with these hacked social media accounts, because that's the new pathway. That's our new communication method, right? Or that's our way to stay in touch with people. You can see how that's worth more than a credit card. So we got to be mindful of our social media presence, what we're doing on there. Use strong passwords. Make sure that we're really only friends with who we know and trust, that we're not blindly accepting anyone and everyone for this. It's becoming the new pathway. We're even seeing spoofed accounts, right? They're just trying to leverage what your image or your brand for that. And we do things at First Financial to help protect that on our end. But on your personal level, or even on your business level, they're using that because they're trying to direct traffic towards there. Next slide. Defending against ransomware and social engineering attempts. The one thing we have to do is just slow down, think, control our emotions. The damage has been done with them just sending or attempting to social engineering. It's what we do afterwards that is going to make or break their attempt. The attacker is trying to manipulate you into making a quick decision or reaction, right? So we got to just be mindful of, if we take a couple seconds or a couple minutes, nothing worse is going to happen. It's if we don't stop and think, that we're just blindly going, through these stages, and really we're just benefiting the attackers. The longer you think about this situation and question it, the more likely you are to realize that this is a social engineering attempt. So just take our time, process the information, the request, and really just make good decisions. Next slide. Indicators that an email may be malicious, and we looked at the Amazon email, and some of these will kind of reflect that. But that urgent request or language that demands immediate action be taken, calls you to provide personal or financial information without thinking of the repercussions. We think we're doing a good thing because we're, communicating back. We feel like we're in harm's way because our account might be closed. We might lose that order. However, we can always redo that, right? We can always reopen an account. We can always reorder something. We just have to take our time and think. Request for usernames or passwords. Anytime you see that, I would just delete the email or hang up the phone. We have to know it's okay to hang up the phone. They will either call back or they won't, and we're going to do it again. Attachments that direct you to open for urgent reason because there's something to gain for doing so. Contains obvious grammatical or spelling mistakes. Unknown or unsuspected sender. Do we know this person? Do we trust this person? I always kind of second guess whenever I'm getting an email that looks pretty enticing. So even if it's the CEO, I don't reply to the original email. I'll start a new email, or I'll even just walk up and ask the questions, what this is about, just to make sure that it is legitimate. An email from a known source that is unexpected or has unusual content, links, or attachments. Next slide. So there's different kind of links that we classify for these. So we have unexpected links. Were you expecting a link in a message from a company you do business with or a coworker? If not, don't click on the link, even if the sender appears to be valid. The sender's email could have been compromised and used to send you this malicious link. If the sender is someone you know, verify with them that the link is legitimate. And I will say it again, don't use the email that you received to respond back. Start a new email or a different communication channel to do that. So whether it's the phone, or if you have Microsoft Teams and they send you an email, just use a different platform if possible, just so that you're not responding to the same email. Shortened links. It is common to encounter shortened links, such as this one that's presented. These used to help condense larger links and make them more manageable. Problem is that cyber criminals use them as well, and it's to hide the true destination or these redirects of where the link will take you. Then we have some tricky links. It's hard to tell where a link is destined for by looking at itself. Sometimes the link is in a word or a phrase, such as a click here or, click, and then always hover over your mouse over the link, text, or button to see where it's really going. And you can also, for the most part, copy and paste that into the web. It's just clicking that link will redirect you. Next, okay, thank you. Current scams of fraudulent activity, and we've seen an uptick in 2022 on this. I always joked about, like that prince in Nigeria needs 50,000. I feel like that's gone away. That doesn't mean it's not coming back. People will still fall for and fail these types of scams. So debt collection. I just got a phone call today about, I am under investigation for something. It was broadly said and, and termed, and I don't even answer a number I don't know. And then whatever the voicemail, I'll just delete. They'll call back if it's legitimate. It always says like threaten to go to jail or something like that. But these involve credit, debit card fees, payday loans, credit repair companies, unauthorized use. Just be aware, contact your institution for these. Talk to the source. That's always the goal of this. And the debt collectors, their impersonation, or whoever they're trying to act like, they're talented. They have a script that they go by. They know it well. They're going to be convincing. The idea is get them off the phone, talk to our source, which is whether it's First Financial, Visa, or whoever that provider is for that. Fake government officials, that's still a thing with the IRS, especially the FBI. Romance scams, an uptick in that in 2022 that we've seen so far. And that's really people using fake profiles, scammers posing as attractive men and women, claiming they need money to help in an emergency. And most of these are using images from other accounts. They're spoofing other Instagrams or Facebooks, kind of catfishing, but it's more for the romance side. Believe it or not, casting call scams. Scammers pose as agents or talent scouts looking for actors, singers, models, reality shows contestants. They're using phony audition notices to fool aspiring performers into paying to try out for parts that don't exist. So they're actually, paying to audition. Then we always have the computer performance scams, equipment and software. Scams claim to offer technical support for computer problems that really don't exist, and you're charging a fee to do that. Next slide. All right, so then we have our peer-to-peer payments, which will be Zelle, Cash App, etc. And scammers are contacting people claiming that funds have been or will be withdrawn from their account unless a corrective action is taken. When asking how to correct the issue, the scammer directs them to send a payment via Zelle or Cash App. And if the user doesn't have one of these, the scammer will walk them through the enrollment process. So it used to be, okay, you got to go buy these gift cards to, correct this action. Now they're just using these peer-to-peer payments to do so. And, these we call them P2P. They're the same as a wire payment. Once the money's out, it's gone. It's going to be hard to recover. Even if you know the person, there's no legitimate way to force them to send it back. Now, if we're working with other organizations, especially financial institutions, maybe we can stop that, but we don't know it until it's happened, right? We're not monitoring for that. So we need to be mindful of who we're sending money to, why we're sending it, and how we're sending it. So we got to ask ourselves, do I know and trust the person requesting money to be sent? Does anything seem suspicious about the payment I'm making? Because this is an uptick and that's happening with this. And a lot of times it does fall on the consumer, the member, or that customer, to retrieve those funds. We do the best we can at First Financial. However, with rules and regulations that sometimes we're at that mercy. Next slide. Final pieces of advice. So once a cyber criminal sends you an email, the phone call, the text, whatever social engineering technique they're using, the best thing to do, and this is just personal advice, do nothing. It hurts to do nothing. If it's legitimate, they're going to call back. They're going to text. They're going to keep emailing. And then they're going to, if they go from email, they're going to go from phone, to a phone call. So we want to just make sure that we understand and we can identify these social engineering techniques. And do not answer reply to communications. Most importantly, do not click on any links or attachments that you did not expect, or you don't know who the sender is. We got to begin to question everything. Don't be afraid to contact the person who sent you an email, call back an organization, or don't be afraid to hang up the phone. That's the one thing. We always had the running joke of a telemarketer just calling, and it really was an inconvenience, and some people just laid the phone down. But and think that we're saving time from the next person that would have to field that call. But now it's okay to do nothing. There's no harm in doing nothing. And at First Financial, we will never ask for members' usernames, passwords, PINs, payment authentication codes. This should never be shared, should always be safeguarded by the member. And I would say not just for First Financial, but anyone you do business with, know what they will and won't do. The IRS will tell you, we will not call or email you. They actually just send you a letter. That's how they operate still. So we got to make sure that we know what to expect from our providers. Next slide. Do not share your login information or credentials with anyone. If someone wants to use your device, whether it's your laptop, desktop, smartphone, log out of the device first. Maybe not for a smartphone, but let them use their own login credentials to do so. Create multiple login user profiles for the device as necessary. So I know for my tablets, for my children at home, they each have their own profile on each device. However, each one of them can log into each device, regardless. So that way we can do, just for auditing purpose, we can see where they were or where they went, et cetera, et cetera. Use multi-factor authentication whenever possible. We do that with our ATM cards, right? We have a bank card, we know the PIN to that. And so that's the other half. It's something something you are, and something you have. Use a password manager to store your account passwords. Do not write your passwords down or use the same passwords across multiple accounts. And this is something we've been seeing as well, is what the criminals will do is try to compromise one account that maybe doesn't matter. Maybe you don't care about your Facebook account, right? We can always reset that password. But what if that password is the same to your banking? What if it's the same as your First Financial password and your email is the same? So now they have information on 2 of your accounts. What if that's across 5 or all of your accounts? So we need to use different passwords, different levels of strength for those. Use our special characters. Use a passphrase, maybe instead of a word. We just have to strengthen these. It might be an inconvenience, but with a password manager, we only have to remember one password, and that's to that platform, because everything else is inside there. Next slide. And that might be the last. Yep. So we have our Cybersecurity Resources. So we have our First Financial Security Center. Anything that I kind of communicate out to our staff or our members can also be located on our Security Center. We try to reinforce it there for people to visit and inform themselves. Then we also have our Internet Crime Complaint Center. We have our National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force. And then we have our CISA, where we can report incidents, phishing, malware, vulnerabilities. And that will conclude the PowerPoint session.
Thank you so much, Chris.
I know it's a lot of info.
Yeah, really interesting. Really interesting, good information. Anybody can now ask questions. We'll take a few. You can put them in the chat or unmute.
Yeah, and if you don't have any questions now and you think of one on your way home, or even after this, contact Andrea, and I'll be able to, she'll pass it along, and I will make sure that I tend to those needs.
That sounds great. No questions?
That means I did a great job, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, if you think of anything, you have my contact information, please reach out. Before you log off, please put your email in the chat if you are not already done so. And thank you all so much for joining. We hope you have a wonderful evening.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone.